Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to On the Ball podcast here on Integrity Sports Network. I'm Kyle. You already know. So tonight's gonna be a little different as it is just me going solo. So it might be a bit of a shorter show, but I still wanted to come on here and talk with you guys about some things that are going on in the sports world. So I may look. It may just turn into for like an hour or so us just talking, you in the chat, I answering whatever, talk about whatever you want to talk about. We should be back, next week with full show, everything like that. You know, you know what to expect from On the Ball. So I do have some topics, lined up that I do want to talk about. But like I said, if there's anything you all want to talk about, we can do that. Like I said, I'm going solo, so I probably might need your help uh, carrying this on a little bit. Um, So yeah, I mean, I did want to start with, some NBA talk. Um, I guess the biggest news in the NBA right now has to be Jimmy Butler, in whether or not, I guess whether or not he's actually going to leave Miami. Number one, and number two, where's he going to go, right? Because we already heard like he doesn't want to go to Memphis, and to be honest with you, Memphis Grizzlies fans, okay, like I look. I feel like Jimmy Butler would have fit with like your Zach Randolph, Tony Allen, that kind of Grizzlies team. Jimmy Butler probably would have been a perfect fit for them. The current group that they have right now, I wouldn't want 35, 36-year-old Jimmy Butler coming in, knowing that you'd probably have to give up some legit rotation pieces to bring him in. So Jimmy Butler saying that he's not going to you, I think does the Grizzlies a huge favor. I keep seeing people float out there that Butler should go to Cleveland. Look, maybe this is me completely underselling. I guess Jimmy Butler at this point, but why? I'm Cleveland. Like I got a five game lead on the Celtics right now for the best record in the East. I'm right up there in terms of best record in the NBA. I think they might actually have the best record in the NBA, but why necessarily mess that up for Jimmy Butler? Because once again, what does Jimmy Butler give you now that we are in 2025? Like, what's he going to give you that you probably don't have already, or probably don't necessarily need right now to be successful? And I get Cleveland's biggest issue is going to be playoffs because they haven't had that success in the postseason post LeBron. I get that. But I think the way that they're constituted, if they play the right way, if they are healthy, I'm not going to say they're going to win the East, but I think they are in as good of a position as they are now than if you had to remove some pieces from the team now and bring in Jimmy Butler. I don't think it makes them any better than they would be if they stayed pat. Once again, I could be completely wrong on Jimmy Butler. Like you'd have to let me know because that's honestly how I feel about it. I think we are spending way too much time, like debating and wondering about a guy who's 30. I think is he 35 or 36, one of them, and hasn't necessarily led a team. Okay, I guess I have to be careful how I phrase this, right? Because yes, I know the in the bubble, he had Miami in a position to win. How'd they do in the finals? They lost. Then, a couple of years ago, does the same thing with the Miami Heat. Gets them to the finals, they get beat, and that's no knock on them necessarily because getting to the finals is definitely an accomplishment, especially with them being an 8 seed and everything like that. But My thing is, I just think Jimmy Butler's one of those guys who, like, he has personality. He'll give you sound bites. He'll give you this. He'll give you that. But ultimately, I don't think he's going to be, a number one on a team that wins a title. I think we've seen that, especially him older now. Definitely not going to happen. So if he goes to Cleveland, I don't even know what Cleveland necessarily have to give up to get him. But like, if I'm Miami, what would I be asking for? And is it worth it? Would they have to give up like a Garland or a Jared Allen or something? I mean, I probably should have messed around with the trade machine, but I just don't feel like it's worth it for Jimmy Butler. Brought to me, he kind of stay in Miami, play it out, and then I guess hit free agency next season and see where the offers are. But I don't know. You let me know, where would you want to see Jimmy Butler go? Like I said, I don't think it's worth the head, not the headache, but like worth the trouble messing up with your chemistry to bring in a guy who I don't think puts you over the top anyway. So what's the point? And with him being a free agent in the offseason, there's no assurance he wants to stay wherever he gets traded necessarily. So now you could be messing up your core, your rotation for a rental of a guy that, as I said, doesn't take you over the top, to then now go into next season trying to replace pieces that you gave up for the rental of Jimmy Butler. What's the point? So, like I said, we'll see where this all goes because, currently the Heat have suspended him, which obviously makes it seem like he probably played his last game in Miami. I can't see that, after suspension, he comes back and plays for Miami and just plays out the season or plays it to the deadline. I feel like this is just time to keep him away from the court, because not like he was doing anything on the court that was worth watching. Like, let's be honest. He was basically like pouting. The NBA version of pouting. Going through the motions, just kind of just doing whatever. Like, yeah, you don't need that around. So I understand why Miami's doing what they're doing in basically keeping him home until they find a spot for him. Hold on a second. All right. Just making sure everything was working. Probably should have checked that before, but let's see. What else do I want to talk about here? Oh, so as we know, the NBA has a new new TV deal that kicks in next year. And I guess it was kind of something that was a little surprising, but Amazon Prime released details on a studio show that they're going to have starting next year. I gotta say, I'm intrigued by the crew that they put together. So they're gonna go with Dirk Nowitzki, Blake Griffin, and Taylor Rooks. Dirk. I feel like Dirk has. I mean, unless you've kind of seen him off the court and the times when he's like filled in like Maverick stuff on whatever. Like, Dirk does have some personality. He's got some humor to him. I think he is kind of like a dry humor to him, which I can appreciate that. So I have no problem with that. I think Blake Griffin, I think everybody knows Blake is a bit of a clown. He also has a lot of personality as well. And, Taylor Rooks is somebody who, like, she's been around for a little, I'm not going to say like a little bit, like it's been like forever, but like she's been around. She's been on TNT. She's been on, I think, NBA TV and like Bleacher Report. Like, so she's been around the league, and she's like filled in at times. Like, that's where I've seen her like filled in at times for some stuff on TNT. So I think it's an interesting group. Obviously, we'll have to see what it looks like when they get started next year. But I just saw that and thought it was a little interesting, and wanted to bring that to you all because I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. I just have the story pulled up. I guess we can look through it. I think they also gave like some details. I think they gave some other details on the show. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. All right. So let me share this with you all. Let's swap. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Let's bring it in a little bit. There we go. That should work. Yeah. Go away ad. We'll leave it there. But yeah, Taylor Rooks, Blake Griffin, and Dirk. Apparently ESPN was interested in Blake Griffin. So, could get for Amazon Prime and in getting him there. Okay, so Rooks was also on. Okay, she was on Prime Video's Thursday Night Football. So she's already got connections with Amazon. So it makes plenty of sense to just use her for the NBA coverage. Okay, cool. Let's see. Show out of California. Okay, so Prime Video will have 66 games during the regular season, all the games from the quarterfinals of the in-season cup, and they'll have every game of the play-in tournament first and second round playoff games, one of the conference finals in 6 of the 11 years. So clearly, Amazon's going to be a decent player next season with the TV deal. So I have no problem with that. I know some people, when they hear about these leagues going streaming, what's going on, John? I'll touch on your question here in a second. Like when you see them talking about streaming and all this kind of stuff, some people are like, oh, whatever, I don't want it. But it's kind of where we are. Most people, to be honest with you, have Amazon Prime because of Thursday Night Football. So I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I would like to see probably some more details on it. I know you have NBA, you have WNBA kind of wrapped up into it. I feel like once we get closer to them, I guess, kind of going live with the new TV deal, we'll get more details on, where WNBA will show up, how they will divvy up the NBA, and everything like that. But I would give this show a chance because, like I said, Blake definitely most people didn't think Peacock would blow up like they did. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I had Peacock anyway because I've been like fully on board with the cutting the cord and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I watch Peacock for like Premier League stuff. I watch it for kind of some NBC shows, obviously. So yeah, I think Peacock is definitely, plus with their like WWE partnership that they have, that's helped them out really well. So I think we're seeing that these streaming sites can be very beneficial. So I'm all in with it, and I hope it kind of helps. With a lot of people talking about how NBA ratings are low because you have to have like all these different channels and everything like that. They'll still be on multiple avenues, but I think this almost makes it a little bit more centralized. Because like I said, I feel like the NBA will probably be like ESPN. I'm trying to think of the new deal, like who it's Amazon, ESPN, Amazon Disney, which is ESPN and ABC. And the third one was it Peacock, the third one? Either way, something like that. So you feel like NBA is going to be the ESPN and Disney part. WNBA will probably be like Amazon. I mean, NBA is on Amazon as well. So I think it will make it a little bit easier for people to watch games, which I do think should help. Um, I know. Okay, so I will put up your comment just to acknowledge it and then touch on it a little bit later. Side note, NFL, what team do you think would give up a second or even a first for Tyreek Hill? Washington, him and McLaurin would be nice. Okay, so hold on. I'll come back to that. Walt Disney, NBC, and Amazon. Okay, so I was right because NBC is Peacock. Yeah, I mean those are probably the three of the bigger streaming platforms. And if they do it correctly, like, yeah, I'm here for it. And we also know Inside the NBA is going to ESPN, so they save that as well. And hey, Jory, what's going on? So yeah, you and John, so you know anybody else tuning in, going solo tonight. So I'm gonna try to keep the same energy that we have when I got Brett and whoever else on with me. So uh, probably will just be this week. Next week, I know Brett will be on. We'll see who else. But appreciate you tuning in, Jory. I was just talked about Jimmy Butler. Just to let you know. So if you have comments on that, we can definitely go back to it. And then it was talking about the new Amazon Prime NBA show, which will have Blake Griffin, Dirk Nowitzki, and Taylor Rooks as the crew for that show. And Prime Video having 66 games during the regular season. So I'm here for it. Let's see. All right, let's hide that for a second. Back. Yeah. What's going on? Only Zeus over on Twitch. Appreciate you tuning in. All right, so back to John's question. Because like I said, since I am going solo, you guys can throw questions in the chat and we'll do this for a little bit and then I'll go ahead and get out of here. So I think Tyreek Hill in Washington would be very interesting. We saw Washington go after. Didn't they go after like DeAndre Hopkins or one of these other wide receivers that are out there? So they've established that they need another wide receiver alongside McLaurin. So if Tyreek Hill is available and you only have to give up, let's say, a second or so, I mean, if I'm Washington, I would think about it. You give Jaden Daniels a speed threat across from McLaurin. I mean, that could unlock something in that offense as well, which would be a little scary thinking about how dangerous their offense has been this season. If you could add Tyreek Hill to it, it would just make it that much more and would make Jaden Daniels' job a lot easier as well. I wouldn't hate it. I mean, Tyreek Hill's coming off of a season where the production drop from the previous season was like, pretty blatant. Like, I mean, he went from, I think it was like 1,500 yards receiving. This year he only had like 900. He went from like 120 catches to like 85 this past season. So it was a tough year for him. I do think, I guess the talk about him like wanting out, I don't know if I would buy into it just yet because he was probably, frustrated, made a comment. Let's see a couple of weeks pass, what goes on with Miami. Because Miami, their season was a bust. Let's be honest. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Waddle were a little bit frustrated with how this season went, because neither one of those guys really produced at a level that they should. A lot of that was obviously Tua only played 11 games this past season. Well, this season, the games where he didn't start, the offense looked horrific because of apparently Mike McDaniel didn't know how to game plan for Tyler Huntley. I don't know, but the games that Tyler Huntley started, Waddle and Hill were basically non-factors. So they well, not they, but Tyreek Hill just in general might just be like it was just him blowing off some steam. Him and the Dolphins talked. He didn't mean it. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like the first moments after a rough season, guys will say some things that they'll obviously like heat in the moment because, like I said, the Dolphins had plans on, contending in the division, being a playoff team once again, and they didn't do either one of those this year. Now, in terms of what the Dolphins need to do, like it's another year. I mean, Tua didn't have the scary injuries that he had last season. It's another year where you didn't get a fully healthy Tua. So, I mean, they have to figure that out. Mike McDaniel has to figure out how to coach when Tua is not under center, because that's something you basically have to plan for every year. Like that's where their season sunk. Mike McDaniel's inability to game plan with Tyler Huntley. But yeah, I mean, good question. Like let's keep it going. I mean, if Anthony were in here, I know he's a big Commanders fan. I would love to hear what he thinks about the prospects of Tyreek Hill, even though, like we're saying, he didn't mean it or anything. You never know. If you're Washington, maybe you put in a call, see what happens. Not like the Dolphins are the best run, so. Let's see. Okay. So I will, I guess, jump to NFL now. Because, like I said, I got the NBA out of the way. Unless there's anything else in the NBA that you guys want to talk about. But, okay, I was kind of go here. Let's go there now. So which coach surprised you most of getting fired? Mayo, AP, Eberflus. We knew Peterson was gone after week 5. Dennis Allen was set up to fail before week 1. You got to add Doug Peterson. Like, yeah. Eberflus was not a surprise. Like, Eberflus probably should have been last year, but the Bears continue to do Bear things, so I wasn't surprised by that. AP, I was a little surprised by. He took over with the mess with John Gruden. Seemed like he stabilized it a little bit. Yes, their quarterback situation is gross. So, I mean, they weren't going to win anyway, but I was a little surprised by that one. Mayo, I mean, since the Mayo thing has gone down, I've gone back and forth. I definitely don't like the Mayo move. If you're new to the channel, once again, appreciate you. I am a Patriots fan, so the Mayo one obviously hits home for me. Anthony says, I think AP got fired because of Brady. I mean, they say Brady's going to be part of the head coaching search, which that kind of points to 2 prominent names out there as potential landing spots with the Raiders. Because you got Vrabel, has ties to Brady. Brian Flores has ties to Brady. As Flores says, he'll take any interview for any of these head coaching jobs. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing Brian Flores with the Raiders. Not to say that, I advocated for them firing AP in any way, but I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate Flores out there. But that's interesting. Anthony, now that you're in here, just to back up really quickly, and then we'll come back to the coaching talk, because John did put this out here. I know you are a Commanders fan, even though we've established that Hill walked back his comments and didn't mean it, but let's just say all things in a vacuum. Hill said what he said, wanted out. Would you give up a second or a first for Tyreek Hill? I feel like I kind of know the answer to that, but just throwing that out there for you. But yeah. Let's see who else on here. Dennis Allen. I mean, Dennis Allen was a guy who was a lame duck coach. Let's be honest. I guess you have to throw Robert Saleh on here because the Jets' job is available as well. Saleh, I was surprised by, but then when you're an organization that turns everything over to Aaron Rodgers, that part didn't surprise me that the coach was going to be gone. Anthony says I'd give up a fourth for Diggs. Okay. So there you go. Prefers Diggs over Tyreek Hill. Tired of poorly run franchises screwing minorities over. Now look, yeah, that's as much as the NFL does not want that to be, part of the conversation. When you have days like Sunday and yesterday happen, it just throws it into the forefront once again. And it's tough because Mayo was one and done. Kraft came out and said he put Mayo in a terrible situation. Mayo needed more time. Okay, but that doesn't help the narrative. Antonio Pierce was in purgatory with the Raiders, and he gets let go because they didn't win enough when their quarterback position was Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, and Aiden O'Connell. I mean, Vince Lombardi couldn't have won with those three. So, explain that one to me. Just going back recently, right? Flores was good in Miami, but because he didn't want to do what the owner wanted and tanking for tampering for Brady or whatever stuff it was, that didn't work out. So it's something that the league has to look into. The Rooney Rule is going to come into focus once again with a lot of these positions because obviously certain guys will just get the interview to satisfy the Rooney Rule, which, even though I know a lot of people hate that, look, if that's what it takes to get a guy in front of somebody, I can't hate it. Because obviously you can't force these billionaire owners to hire minorities because you want to, change the perception within the league. So if you at least force them to sit in front of them, like I said, I know it's, it seems like window dressing or it seems phony in certain ways, but if that's where we're at in order to get interviews and all that kind of stuff, I see the purpose. Now, the bigger issue is, some of these owners who have been, I guess, with these teams forever, with these archaic mindsets and stuff, that's where the change needs to come from. Now, we know how this works. A lot of them kind of stay with these teams and own these teams until either they end up in some type of scandal that forces them out. Look at, was it Richardson in Carolina? That's how Tepper got there. He got involved in a scandal and he was kind of kicked out, or they unfortunately have to die. That's kind of where it is with this. And it's just the state of the league right now. But you can only hope that eventually these teams kind of just change their habits. Because, look, am I going to sit here and say Gerard Mayo was a great coach? No. But I also can't say he's not a good coach, because that roster, nobody would have won with that team. And what these billionaire owners and stuff don't understand is when you keep making moves like this, you're actually just putting more pressure on yourself, because fan bases are then looking like, Okay, so we fired this guy. Who are we going to bring in? And a lot of times, these poorly run teams, like Jory said, just make terrible hire after terrible hire anyway. So they just end up in the same cycle every 1, 2, 3 years. And that's the biggest problem with a lot of these teams. Like if your favorite team hasn't won in a while, I guarantee you, if you look at what the front office has done at the head coaching position, you'd probably know why they haven't been good in a while. I guess I'll come down off that soapbox here for a little bit, but let's get back to the comments. Why did Jerry Jones deny Bears' request for an interview with Mike McCarthy? Because he's Jerry Jones, and that's like the only reason I can say, because he's Jerry Jones. Like it's getting to the point where one of them Jones kids needs to, go into the office, close the door, have a serious conversation with Jerry. Like he does understand Mike McCarthy's contract, I believe, ran out. So Mike McCarthy can technically do whatever he wants, but Jerry Jones just doesn't like the position of seeing Mike McCarthy, who was a coach that they basically drug his name through the mud since he's been in Dallas for his ineffective coaching. But now Jerry Jones is acting like, well, if he's not going to work here, he's not going to go anywhere else. He's my guy. So I guess does this mean he's going to sign Mike McCarthy long term? Is he like I don't understand what Jerry Jones thinks he's doing here, and it just speaks to a lot of the issues in Dallas. They point to Jerry Jones. Everything's gone wrong in Dallas. You can look back and say, wonder why. Jerry Jones. Past offseason, they do nothing. Jerry Jones. They don't have, legit backup when Dak goes down. Jerry Jones. They completely gutted their running back room and had to rely on bringing Zeke back to fix it. Jerry Jones. They don't have a legit wide receiver, I guess, across from CeeDee Lamb. Jerry Jones. Their defense takes a step back. Maybe that's not necessarily Jerry Jones, because I do think he's brought in pieces on that side, but it's a mess down there. So I guess the reason why Jerry Jones doesn't want Mike McCarthy to interview with the Bears, because he's Jerry Jones. I mean, maybe Jerry Jones thinks Mike McCarthy is still under contract. I don't know. But then again, like how I probably should look that up, because I don't get how Jerry Jones can deny a request if Mike McCarthy's contract is up. Or is it about to be up and Jerry Jones is just delaying it? Actually, look at that real quick. Okay, so Mike McCarthy's contract expires at the conclusion of this season. Does that mean like the conclusion of the Super Bowl, the conclusion of their season? Because it's the conclusion of their season, then he's out there as a free agent. So, okay, ends January 14th. Okay, thanks, John. So basically, Jerry Jones is going to make Mike McCarthy wait a week to go interview. Is he hoping that the jobs fill up in a week and Mike McCarthy comes crawling back to him or something, and then Jerry will probably just be like, I'm going to sign. I want another coach anyway. You can just go. Is that what helps him sleep at night, feeling that he has that power over somebody's livelihood? Sure. Knock yourself out, Jerry. But, I mean, speaking of the Bears have a long list of coaches that they're trying to interview. I saw, I think I saw a clip with Colin Cowherd, and he had the list. Like they want to talk to everybody from like Brian Flores to Mike McCarthy to Aaron Glenn to Ben Johnson. Like they want to talk to everybody. I would like for them to probably narrow that list down a little bit, but yeah, they need to get this right, because Lord knows we don't need to see Bears get the coach. Coach doesn't like Caleb Williams. They move off Caleb Williams, and then the whole new coach, but then the coach doesn't fit with that. And yeah, because the third time they got the coach, fired him after drafting a quarterback, even though that coach was there for the previous quarterback. Like they need to end that cycle. Let's see. Got to have success though. Only two that's had success has been Tomlin and Bowles. Well, I mean, is that true? Yes. Problem is, if you took AP off of the Raiders for the past couple of years, would they be a better team with the roster that he's had? Probably not. So then I can't blame Pierce for that. If you take Mayo out of New England this past season, do they win more than 4 games? I can't guarantee that either. So yes, you have to have success to keep your job, true, but I don't think that applies in those two cases. Because like I said, Pierce is coming in after the John Gruden mess that was left, and he was trying to just stabilize it while trying to field a team that wasn't good enough. Like I said, especially at the quarterback position. And then Mayo with the Patriots, like you have no O-line. You have a bunch of number 3, 4s, and 5s at wide receiver. Although Pop Douglas, I think, could be a number 2. I can't necessarily do that to him. I think Bourne could be a number 2, but no number 1 in New England. The defense, a lot of pressure was on them to, pick up for an offense that just wasn't good for a lot of the season. So I don't think that's fair on Mayo either. And even with the Mayo part, now makes you understand the Chargers game when they showed Jonathan Kraft up in the box and he was like yelling out, "What are they doing?" Like that clearly signaled the end of Jerod Mayo. How in the entire hell do you get 2 seasons to fix a team that whipped on 3 straight draft class and then get fired in the midst of doing it? That is a valid point. Because I think with a lot of fans, like they don't think about the draft once it's done. Like during the draft, they'll be like, hate this pick, hate this pick, hate this pick, and they kind of forget about it. Like if you whiff on one draft, like I can understand that. The draft is a crapshoot. You whiff on one, fine. You whiff on 2, that's where the alarms start going off. You whiff on 3, like that's like DEFCON 5 right there. Like that's like just looking at this this way. If in 3 drafts you have 1 pick around, at worst, that's 21 attempts to bring in rookies that could have plugged certain holes on your team. So if you completely whiff on 21 opportunities, think about what that does on a 53-man roster on game day, where 21 guys who you picked couldn't fill in anywhere. That now, with the roster that's there during those drafts, you now have guys at certain positions getting older with nobody to replace them. Like that just creates a cycle where you're like constantly behind the 8 ball trying to improve the roster while missing at your biggest attempt through the draft, and the roster that you have getting older, slower, and all of that. You combine that, the 3 missed drafts now leads to what, 3, 4, maybe more years where you're not trying to fix what happened in those 3 years. And if you're doing that, your team's probably not going to be good the first couple of years anyway. But then to get fired during that, like Jory's alluding to here, that's not fair. And, going back to our previous point, a lot of times it seems like that situation only applies with minority coaches. I mean, Mike Tomlin's is obviously different, but like John said, Mike Tomlin's had success. But even Mike Tomlin, Steeler fans have been wondering, like, should he still be the coach there? And he's also with an organization that doesn't fire coaches like that. Like the Steelers have had, 3 coaches in their existence. So I guess we might say maybe he's lucked out that he went to the right franchise. I mean, Marvin Lewis spent a lot of time in Cincinnati and he didn't have any success at all. But that was the Bengals, right? So, uh, yeah. So for every Tomlin or Lewis, you get guys like Mayo, Pierce, Bieniemy, who's I mean, look, this is like the first year in what's it been like 3 seasons where Bieniemy's name is not really out there anymore, and he was kind of the catalyst for a lot of this um, talk a couple of years ago when people thought he was the next thing in coaching, but could never get a job. And then he couldn't get a job, and it was because he's a terrible interviewer. But you can't tell me Adam Gase was a great interview, because even in his introductory press conference, that dude looked lost. But he got a job, and they got another one. I mean, Adam Gase is now coaching I think he's like coaching high school or something. So, it definitely came back to get him. But I mean, Bieniemy had to go to UCLA, and now Bieniemy's like an afterthought. After coaching with Patrick Mahomes, which once again, take it to the other side. How many coaches did we see get jobs because, they high-fived Peyton Manning on the sideline? It worked in their favor, but it didn't work for Bieniemy with Patrick Mahomes. That's all I'm saying. And anybody who speaks out against that, you got to look at it from that point of view. J. Rob got 4 seasons to mess up the team. Rand got 2. So yeah, I mean, John only asked about the coaching positions. We had Rand as the GM in Tennessee get fired. That one surprised me for sure, for a couple of reasons. I thought he did well in his drafts, and plus, Jory, you can correct me on this. I kind of understood it that Vrabel was gone because he and Rand didn't see eye to eye, and it seemed like the team had sided with Rand. But now the very next season, Rand's gone. I mean, Jory, I may have that wrong. Like, you can correct me on that, but that makes this movie seem even weirder. Because then they put out their press release, and it's like, so like I said, follow the dots. Vrabel and Rand don't get along. Vrabel's gone. Now Rand and somebody doesn't get along, and Rand's gone. I don't understand it, but this is what it looks like. But was it necessary? I'm not necessarily asking you, Jory, like that, but it's just like when I look at that division, yes, Tennessee had a rough year, but that division is not like so far out of hand that Tennessee should feel like they're 3 years away. Like they were literally probably another good draft away from closing the gap on Houston even more. And if I look at Jacksonville, let go of Peterson, kept the GM, who wasn't doing great down there. So there's no guarantee Jacksonville looks better next year. Indy's keeping their coach and GM together, but they have a quarterback issue. So there's no guarantee Indy is much better next year. Tennessee, defensively, I thought they looked great. I thought improvements made on the line. They're questioned at the quarterback position. But I don't think it's to the point where it's like, oh, we're doomed for the next 3 or 4 years. Like I thought they were improving and getting closer. And Houston doesn't look like the not juggernaut, but like the great team as I kind of thought they were going to be to start the season. So I was surprised by that. John, the previous GM, traded away AJ. The new GM just got fired after 2 seasons, didn't get a chance to fix all the mistakes. Yeah. Yeah. Brinker. Okay, that's the guy that apparently Rand didn't get along with. It's like I said, I'm sure it's something that Goodell hates that it is a conversation every offseason. But when teams continue to make moves like this, that's what keeps it in the conversation. So until either these front offices decide to be patient, because that's something I say for a lot of teams, whether it's minority coaches or whatever, younger coaches, I'll say. I always celebrate when new coaches get into the ranks. I hated the years where it was um like a Marty Schottenheimer type gets fired here, automatically gets hired there because he's Marty Schottenheimer and he's got this history in the league. Some of those guys, they hit the same ceiling every destination they go to. The league needs new minds in that position to, I feel like, keep the game fresh and everything like that. So I guess I'm glad that a lot of the names out there, like Vrabel, Flores, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, a lot of them are new faces to the coaching reins. So I obviously will hope those guys get the jobs and the pick of everything. But these teams, when they hire these guys, gotta look in the mirror and be real with yourself. None of these teams that fired their coach could you necessarily say somebody else would have done better with the group that was there or the situation that was there. Because technically, if you look at Dennis Allen in New Orleans, the Saints cap situation is trash, and it still is. I have to look that up probably for next week to see when do they get cap relief. Because I saw a story next year there's 66 million over the cap. How many years are they stuck like this? And that's because of Sean Payton, who got to slither away from it, is now in Denver. But whoever takes that job in New Orleans, what are you supposed to do with that? You're handcuffed already as you get in there. So I think that's a job that's probably going to go to some no-name guy we've never heard of. But if I'm New Orleans and I sign him, I can't sit there and be like, well, next year if they stink, stories about will he keep his job? No. You bring somebody in there, make a commitment for 3 or 4 years, and just be done with it. Look, Houston did this when they waited for the last minute with Lovie Smith and David. I forgot the dude's name already. And they were looking like a terrible destination. Then they go ahead and get D'Amico Ryans, who's brought stability there. And you could you could honestly say first 2 years has been successful there. But the worry is going to be, especially with him being a minority coach, let's say next year they're a 7-8 win team. Will the first 2 years he had there matter? Or will we start hearing that D'Amico Ryan's job might be in jeopardy? I don't know. But that's where this conversation will just continue to go until we see some legit changes with some of these front offices. David Culley, yes. Thank you, John. But I don't know. It was been a weird couple of days in the NFL for sure. I know they call it Black Monday or whatever, but I don't know. Something tells me it might not be done either. Because I feel like some of these, there might be a team or two that's slow playing, firing somebody. I don't know. But I guess to change the conversation a little bit, do any of you have predictions on who will fill some of these jobs? Like I said, the jobs that are out there, the Patriots, the Jets, Raiders, Saints, Jags, Bears. Six. Yeah, I think it's six openings. Those are the six teams. Like, who do you think would be, I guess, perfect matches for whatever jobs? Or I guess if you just want to say, like, who do you think will get jobs if you don't necessarily know which place? Because I do think the Patriots job, like Kraft will have to make a hiring that, I guess of significance. And I think when looking at that, there's only two, maybe three names that work. I think it has to be Vrabel or might have to be Flores. But if you want to go offensive mind, I think it has to be Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson interviewed there. I don't think there's a chance Ben Johnson takes that job. Although it would be attractive with Drake May, I don't know if Ben Johnson takes it. So I assume it's probably Vrabel's job if he wants it. Which then, let's just say Vrabel, interviews with the Jets, which obviously gets the Patriots' attention, and then decides he doesn't want to coach in New England and goes, and goes to coach in like Vegas or something. What would the Patriots do? Now, if that did happen, I would pick up the phone. I'd have, I'd make whatever offer Flores needs and bring him in. That's what I would do. All right, so John says Liam Cohen to the Jags. Okay, Liam Cohen is what, the OC in Tampa, I think. I have seen that his name is out there. Look, I think the Jags job, yeah, you're probably going to have to get a guy kind of like this, not necessarily a big name, because I don't know if big name coaches would look at Jacksonville as a great place, especially with Trent Baalke keeping his job, which now Trent Baalke on his resume was the guy that was picked over Jim Harbaugh in San Francisco, and now seemingly they sided with him over Doug Peterson. I thought Jacksonville was kind of going to let go of both of them, but Baalke keeps his job. So Liam Cohen to the Jags, sure. I mean, if it is the guy I'm thinking of, like Tampa Bay offensively, been really good this year. I think they're top 5 offense in the NFL, so why not? I mean, they have to fix Trevor Lawrence. Like, the clock's ticking on that guy. Like, he needs to make a playoff run and win a playoff game at some point, right? Because that 4-letter word is it's out there with him. I'm talking about bust. So Liam Cohen, sure. Flores to the Raiders, I think that's yes, I agree with that one. I think that's where Flores ends up. I think the Brady connection works too much there. And I wouldn't hate it. I could see Flores in the silver and black coaching on that sideline. I think that would be a good place for him. Vrabel to the Pats, I agree. I think this is something that probably gets announced not too long from now. I just feel like it just seems too perfect, like the writing on the wall. I think Vrabel will be the Pats coach. And look, like I said, I didn't want to see Mayo get fired. I couldn't hate Vrabel in New England. Okay, Anthony says, I don't like the Lions DC having 3 interviews, but should be focused on his bad defense for the playoffs. Okay, so that's Aaron Glenn. Well, look, the Lions are winning games, right? That helps. Because whenever you have a team that's winning like that, the coordinators look a little better. I mean, I could agree that the defense hasn't been great. Some of that is because Hutchinson did go down. I think Aaron Glenn could be in play with the Jets. He did play there, so that would kind of help him. But I think for John, it's Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan basically is pleading for the job. Now, Todd Monken, let's talk about this for a second. Why is Todd Monken out there like that? Like, that AFC title game against the Chiefs was terrible for him. And then this season, they misused Derrick Henry for most of the season. So why are people like clamoring to interview Todd Monken? I would wait to see Todd Monken's game plan in these playoffs before I necessarily want him coaching my team. That's just me though. Because I've seen his name like out there and I'm just like, why? I don't get it. I don't get that one at all. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Yes, Kingsbury probably does, and I mean it'll be interesting only because he's kind of had that before and failed. So will a team, thinking that the second time around he'll be better, give him a shot? Maybe. I mean, they did with Josh McDaniels technically, right? He failed with the Broncos, went back to New England, basically had the coach job until he backed out of it. So, been done before. Kingsbury was fine. Kingsbury was he was in Washington. For some reason, I was thinking he was in Arizona, but that's where he was coaching. But yeah, I mean, you look at the work he did with Jaden Daniels in that offense. Yeah, I feel like I feel that will get him an interview. I don't know if it'll get him a job, but yeah, I can see that. All right, so John, you've placed Cohn with the Jags, you placed Flores with the Raiders, Vrabel with the Pats, Ryan or Monken with the Jets. So I guess who are you thinking for the Bears and who am I missing now? Jags, Raiders, Patriots, Jets. Jags, you got okay. I just said these teams and now I'm like losing track because let's go with the Bears. Like, who do you have with the Bears? Because the Bears' job, I think. I mean, look, we saw Pete Carroll. It was like a couple of weeks ago. Said he was interested in the Bears' job. I don't know what's gonna. I don't think that was probably serious or anything like that. But you look at it, you have a decent wide receiver group. You have okay. So Anthony says Aaron Glenn to Jacksonville. Okay. Oh, John, I thought of the other teams. Bears and the Saints. You haven't placed anybody there yet. Okay, so Anthony, so you feel like Aaron Glenn is going to get a job. I do think like Jacksonville and New Orleans might be the least attractive jobs. And I mean, I guess I would hate to see a minority coach get one of the least desirable jobs, but it is what it is. I probably would take Jacksonville over New Orleans because, like I said, their cap situation stinks. At least Jacksonville, you have Trevor Lawrence if you like him. I'm not as big on Trevor Lawrence as a lot of people are, but you at least have him. I guess. I mean, I'm trying to think of what else is really great about Jacksonville. Tank Bigsby? Defensively, they're So a lot of work would need to be done in Jacksonville. I would only hope Aaron Glenn or whoever they hire down there gets a legit chance to fix it. Vance Joseph to the Bears. I wish we got a Bears fan in here. I don't know if that's the name they want to see, but okay. I think Bears fans have their eyes set on Ben Johnson. I think that's the guy that they want the team to like go all out for. Which would be interesting, Ben Johnson goes to a divisional opponent, tries to, uh, I guess, make the most of Caleb Williams and those wide receivers that are there, plus DeAndre Swift. I don't think it's a terrible starting point if you are an offensively inclined coach, but you still got to deal with front office in Chicago and all that. Plus the division, like, I mean, you go into that Bears job, you're looking up at a Packers team that is playing really well. You're looking up at a Vikings and Lions teams that both won like 14 plus games this year. That'd be interesting though. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we need to talk about. Or, I mean, we could keep talking coaching for a little bit here. Like I said, I don't necessarily want to like be in front of you for like 2 hours and just listening to me. I mean, we just hit the hour mark. I feel like we could go for a few more minutes before we get out of here. Oh, okay. So if we're done with the coaching, we can look at the wildcard weekend and just throwing names. Okay, here we go. If Ben Johnson leaves, Kellen Moore OC to the Lions. I'm trying to think. Kellen Moore where was he at this year? Where was Kellen Moore? I remember Kellen Moore being on the sideline somewhere. Oh, wasn't he in Dallas? Yeah. Not exactly the best year for him with the Dallas mess, but once again, Jerry didn't necessarily stack that cabinet to have an explosive offense, so I guess that makes some sense. Oh, Eagles. Okay, I know he was either Cowboys or Eagles. He was behind one of these coaches that everybody was talking about. How about Sirianni? Sirianni, I guess, keeping his job for now. Like I said, there could be a surprise firing. Well, let's say the Eagles go out and lose wild card round. Does Sirianni still have a job next year? I don't know. Let's see. Joe Brady, Saints, Pete Carroll, Mike Kafka for the Bears. Okay. I just wonder if teams are going to hire Pete Carroll. I don't know. Or if he does get hired, it's like, isn't he going to only be there like a year or two? Like, he's getting up there in age. I don't know. I thought that's probably going to work against him. I mean, I kind of wonder, would Pete Carroll go back to the college route? Yeah, the Broncos defense. Yeah, I feel like they've done enough and have caused enough attention that Vance will probably get an interview. I don't know if he'll get a job, but he'll get an interview for it. And look, he has a stage to work with. If he can take that Broncos team that will be facing off against the Bills and have a good showing, could only help him. Let's see. I guess let's pull up the bracket here and let's talk some NFL to kind of close out the show. There we go. So, like I said, got wild card weekend. So we'll have 3 games on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, 1 on Monday. Which I kind of like that. I like the spacing out, especially with the one game on Monday. I'm a big fan of that. Okay, so this one has the lines on it as well. Because we normally make picks here on the Ball. I will make mine, and Brett and Dylan, make theirs off stream. I will post all of our picks up for you guys. If not tomorrow, then probably by Thursday on Integrity Sports Network's page. I guess let's just run through these. So we got Chargers, Texans. Chargers are a 3-point favorite. Look, I've said for weeks now, for basically any show I've been on, that 5 seed as a wildcard team was the sweet spot to be in because I think any one of those wildcard teams that they have gotten there would have been the favorite in this matchup. Oh, here we go. Marcus Freeman to the Bears. He was drafted to the Bears. I mean, we didn't think of college coaches. That's a fair point. Because let's just say Freeman leads Notre Dame to the national title. Win or lose, his stock's going to be really high. Much less if they win. If Notre Dame wins the college football playoff, his stock's going to be through the roof. I think that's interesting, Anthony. I think that is a name to watch because he's been really good at Notre Dame. I wouldn't be mad if he made the jump. That's a good one. All right, we'll look out for that one. All right, so John has Chargers, Ravens, Bills for the AFC. I will take the Chargers. I'll take the Chargers minus the 3. I think the Texans are a team that they're just ready to kind of end the season, pack it up. And I think the Chargers will, bring that Harbaugh brand of physical smash mouth football with Herbert, playing off of that. Said the Chargers are bringing in Zeke, which I was kind of wondering, like, if you bring in Zeke now, can he play in the playoffs? Because I kind of had the NBA thought in my mind where for the NBA, you had to be on a team at a certain time to play in the playoffs, but they're bringing in Zeke, so I'm assuming he's potentially going to be involved. But, yeah, I'll take the Chargers in minus 3. Bears have been paying head coaches $4 to $5 million a year. Freeman making $7 to $9 now at Notre Dame. That's quite the pay cut, but I feel like all college coaches they love that challenge of the NFL. So we got the Ravens minus 9.5. Oof. To be honest with you, I don't see the Ravens necessarily blowing out Pittsburgh like that. Could they? Yes. But if they did, I think that would be more so Russ and that Pittsburgh offense turning the ball over a couple of times. This one is tricky because Russ is struggling right now. Would Pittsburgh go back to the little bit of the 2-quarterback system they had earlier this year? Like, if Russ starts out struggling, do we see Justin Fields come in, maybe a couple of packages and they kind of shuffle them in and out to try to make it through this game? I don't know. But if Russ is on, I would take the Steelers plus 9.5. I unfortunately just don't think the Ravens necessarily a team that's in the division playing them for the third time will have an easy time beating to the tune of a 10-point win. Like I said, could they do it? Yes. I have questions about this Ravens group, especially when it comes to the playoffs. So I will take the Steelers plus 9.5 in that one. The Bills are favored by 8.5 over the Broncos. I think the Broncos defense will make it interesting. The question is obviously going to be Bo Nix's first playoff appearance. How's he going to play? I think for Bo Nix, I think for the Broncos, get off to a good start. You know, whether it's trying to establish the run or get Bo Nix like quick little throws to get him warmed up to it, because that crowd up there is going to be all over him. I think the Bills ultimately win that game, but I think maybe I'm giving too much credit to the Broncos defense, but I'm actually going to take the Broncos plus 8.5 in that one. So for the AFC, I've got Chargers -3, Steelers plus 9.5, and Broncos plus 8.5. On the NFC side, Rams Vikings is interesting. Because the Rams offense can be really good. I've also seen them struggle. Flores has worked wonders with that defense in Minnesota. Stafford's been around for a while. He's probably seen all the tricks that are out there, but Flores is still a gifted defensive coordinator. I'm sure he'll have different wrinkles. I think the Vikings win it. I feel like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of rooting for Darnold to do well. I know so many people are doubting him. Not that I'm rooting for him to do well, but I would hate for the season that they had for him to have a terrible playoff game and then that kind of overshadow what they've done, what Flores has done, like, and all that. So I'm gonna say I'll take the Vikings -1. I think the Vikings win that game. I think defensively they will slow down the Rams offense, which, I mean, the Rams offense is basically like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I feel like Kupp has slowed down a bit. All right, so John's got Rams, Bucks, Eagles. Well, I've got Vikings -1 in this one. Well, I know if Anthony's in here, pretty sure Anthony's got his Commanders, or maybe not. Would love to hear from you, Anthony, how you see that game playing out. But Bucks are a 3-point favorite at home, which is basically what you get for being at home. So Vegas is kind of telling you this game's a bit of a toss-up, which I agree with. This one's tough. These are two quarterbacks I absolutely love. I am a big Baker Mayfield fan. I'm a big Jaden Daniels fan. So it will be tough for me to see one of them lose this one, but I kind of agree. I think the Bucks win this one. I think that game could be the highest scoring of Wildcard Weekend and could sneakily be the most entertaining game. And it could also be kind of a dud, but I'm a lean toward it being a good playoff matchup. I think the key for the Bucks, Baker, just like don't turn the ball over. Be careful with the ball. I think they'll be fine. And for the Commanders, it's, I think with any rookie quarterback, get settled in. Like for Jane Daniels, whether that's scrambling a couple of times, getting out, running for a few yards to get into the game, like, be you. That's probably the biggest thing I could say is just be you and give yourself a shot in that one. But I'll take the Bucks -3. Eagles Packers. You got the Eagles -4.5 as the line. John has the Eagles in this one. I mean, the Christian Watson torn ACL news definitely hurts because when it comes to Green Bay, I don't think they necessarily have a number one wide receiver. Where they are so dangerous is they have 3-4 guys that are number twos who, create the right matchup. They'll beat that guy. And they have Tucker Kraft at the tight end position, who I think has come on. But now you take Christian Watson out. That puts more on like Dobbs and Wicks, and I'm a little worried. What's working in their favor in this one? The Eagles still have that Bucks game from last season's playoff in the back of their mind. If the Packers can get off to like a 7-0, 10-0 type of lead, I would be interested to see how Sirianni reacts, how A.J. Brown reacts, how some of these Eagles players react if they start thinking, oh no, here we go again. That's the Packers' way in this one. If after the first quarter the Eagles have a lead, I think the Eagles will be fine and win this one. This one is tough. Oh, Trajan's going on. I see Trajan up in here. What's up? About as good as Ohio State versus Oregon, right, John? Okay. John coming back, obviously. We don't matter. Give me the Pack by 10. Okay. Look at the separation rate of their wide receivers. If they just catch the ball, they are fine. Right. And like I said, I like the Packers' skill positions. I like Jordan Love. You know, the Eagles have Mitchell. They have Cooper DeJean. Like, they have some young guys on the back end as well. This might be the toughest game for me to pick. I mean, the difference between the Eagles this year and last year, they have Saquon Barkley. That should be a big factor for them. I'm gonna go Eagles minus the 4.5, but I am not confident in that at all. Because look, like I said, there are lots of ways I could see the Packers winning this. Like, I really can. Like, if I'm back here next week and the Packers beat the Eagles, I wouldn't be shocked at all. So I see John asking about Jordan Love. You know, Trajan talking about Jalen Hurts hasn't practiced at all. Is the playoffs. Okay, I'm expecting Jordan Love to play. I'm expecting Jalen Hurts to play. Eagles could win with Cooper Rush, though, with that roster. Well, I mean, they struggled with Jalen Hurts last year. Give the Eagles by 6. I definitely think it's going to be a one-score game. I think right now, I'm going to lean Eagles minus 4.5. But like I said, I am not confident in that at all. Because the Eagles have to prove some stuff come the playoffs. Because the way last year ended, the way that they played against the Bucks last year, that definitely left an impression with me. And they kind of have to prove it. But they are a very talented roster, for sure. All right, Trajan with, last time the Pack went to the Super Bowl, started with the Eagles, went to a dome, and then division rival. So that would mean, so the Packers beat the Eagles. That would be obviously starting with the Eagles. Went to a dome. They would go face the Lions in the dome. And then divisional rival. Well, so I guess, yeah. Vikings in the NFC title game. Okay. There you go. Trajan's laid it out. Now we'll have to see if that works. The path is there. It is. Just went through it. It's all right there for him. Lunchbox and Big String Singular. Yeah. Okay. Like, yeah. So that would be the path, yeah. Eagles to Lions to Vikings. Look, they say history repeats itself. What a story that would be. 7th seed Packers find their way to the Super Bowl. Okay. Fortunately, I don't see it like that right now. But like I said, not confident. So just to recap, I've got Chargers minus 3, Steelers plus 9.5, Broncos plus 8.5. I've got Vikings minus 1, Bucks minus 3, and Eagles minus 4.5. Yeah. So I have all three favorites in the NFC, only one favorite in the AFC. Okay, so now Trajan and John are just going back and forth about college. Love to see it. Love the energy. Illinois played at that terrible looking court and won by. Hey, there you go. John and Trajan battling it out. Only Oregon fan of football, UNC, and basketball. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm sure there's a story there, John. Fair enough. Oregon basketball sucks. Oregon basketball had their time. Hmm. I honestly can't think. Yeah. But yeah, so those are my picks for Wild Card Weekend. Like I said, and I said before, you look at the sports calendar. Wild Card Weekend is right up there for me. It's like March Madness open weekend, Wild Card Weekend. Yeah, I think Wild Card Weekend might be number 2 for me. But that's all I had. I'm willing to stick around to like the hour and a half mark if you guys have anything else you want to talk about. Big week. Yes, it is a big weekend. Like I said, so what was it? Saturday, you'll get Texans, Chargers, then Ravens, Steelers. Sunday, you get Bills, Broncos, then Eagles, Packers, then Bucks, Commanders, and then Monday night, you get Rams, Vikings. Not too bad. How about Bucks, Commanders getting prime time? Shout out to them. I'm actually not. I'm not mad at that. Yeah. Obviously, Saturday they were going to pick Ravens Steelers as the primetime matchup. On paper, that's a better matchup than Texans Chargers. I understand that. But yeah, Sunday taking Bucks Commanders over, I guess, Eagles Packers. And then Rams Vikings being picked for the Monday night game. I guess I don't really hate that either. Grew up a UNC fan. UNC football has always been slow. Grew up watching High Flying Oregon. Liked the Unis, never won a natty, so I said, sure, I'll become a fan, and no one liked them. Okay. That's fair. Hurts has not even thrown a football yet, or anything would make me nervous. I'd rather take on the backup. Backup was what? Tanner. What's his name? Oh, no. Oh, God. Pickett. I don't know why I thought Tanner's the third string. Yeah. Third string, though, not so much. I feel like I get third string in a playoff game. Like you, yeah. I mean, I'm sure. Look, as well as Pickett looked, yeah, Tanner McGee. There you go. That's the thing. As well as Pickett looked at times, Eagles fans don't want to see him. Yeah, Tanner McGee went. Stanford. Yeah. When it comes to colleges, look, I watch college football, but remembering where a lot of these guys went to school can be a crapshoot. McGee should be a starter. I mean, I guess you could find a home for him. Yeah, Stanford. Okay. Badgers faced Ohio State's third string in the Big Ten championship, put up 59 points on us. I mean, look, Ohio State. Ohio State won a national championship with their third string. Was it Cardale Jones? Remember when he was supposed to be really good in the NFL? That didn't pan out. But all right, like I said, I can stick around for 5 more minutes. If you guys have anything to talk about, I guess I'll leave this up here. The bracket. I mean, I guess just to kill some time, rank the games by watchability. Sadly, Cardell got excited, thought Badgers had a shot, and it was 59-0 in the blink of an eye. Yeah. Okay. Why do the Bucks like to give you false hope? Tennessee just went down to basketball. I guess quick answer for the Bucks. I mean, I guess aging rosters will do that. Some nights they'll look great. Some they just won't. We got a baseball question. Thoughts on Verlander going to another team? LOL Giants, I believe. Giants, look, every year the Giants love to get big names and try to get them out there. Why not? Although they did get the Giants did get somebody this offseason. I thought they were sneaky in on Juan Soto. That didn't happen. But Giants like old guys. Yeah. Did the Giants get Adames? Yeah. They got Willie Adames. I would have liked him in Boston, but that's a good sign for them. Good signing for them. Also, baseball's doing it again. When's the Corbin Burns news going to come out? Do not tell me we're going to be waiting weeks for that guy. You got Bregman still out there. Then it's like some of these guys that are, like Vladdy's talking about leaving Toronto and all this kind of stuff. Like, it's crazy. Jimmy Buckets and his bangs come to Milwaukee. Okay, so I talked Jimmy Butler a little earlier. 3 weeks into spring training, like baseball is just annoying with that. All right, let's take this down. Let's talk about this. Can I talk about this like at the start of the show? I don't understand this obsession with trying to bring Jimmy Butler in. I don't think there's a team he goes to that makes them that much better that I'm like, oh no, Jimmy Butler's in, whatever. Got to look out for them. If he went to Milwaukee, you know what that would mean? Another old guy on an old roster. And what's Milwaukee gonna have to give up to get Jimmy Butler? I mean, Trajan, you are a Bucks fan. Like, what would you give up for Jimmy Butler? Thought Burns got a big time contract. Oh yeah, he did. Why was I thinking Burns was still out there? You're absolutely right, John. He did sign with Arizona. Cause I remember Diamondbacks fans were going crazy. I don't want it. The Bucks would make this deal. Middleton, Portis, and a pick. Middleton, Portis, and a pick for Jimmy Butler. Not terrible. I don't know if I like it though, but okay. Butler said he doesn't want to go to the Bucks or Grizzlies, although he doesn't have a no trade clause. And look, if I'm the Bucks, if I'm the Grizzlies, I say, okay, cool. Sure, you don't want us. Okay, Jimmy. Like, great. Hurts Suns was the favorite, but had to have Beal in the trade. If I'm Miami, Like what what does Bradley Beal do for you in Miami? Nothing. The same way Miami wasn't going anywhere with Jimmy Butler, they're probably not even getting close to where that level was with Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is not that guy. Like, it was all cute and everything when he was in Washington with John Wall, but we've seen him in Phoenix now. He's not somebody you can count on being available, and he doesn't really string together great performances on that Suns team. I would feel like it'd be, yeah. I don't think that does anything for either team. If you put Butler in Phoenix, Beal in Miami, so what? I think Phoenix would still disappoint in the playoffs, and I think Miami would still be an afterthought in the East. I don't know. Kind of would be interesting, I guess, on a trade machine to see. Because I wonder what the trade machine would say about this deal here. It's probably going to be like, are you nuts? Why, their trade machine doesn't let you trade picks, so it's probably not going to work. Yeah. I mean, it looks like if you did throw picks in there, it probably would work. I just don't like it. Send him to the Pacers. I mean, you probably have to like give up like a Matherin or something like that. Why? I think Jimmy Butler would stick out like a sore thumb in Indy. That's a team that's trying to play fast. I don't know. Jimmy Butler's not doing that. Yeah, money, yes. Because just doing the players itself, it doesn't work only because you need like $130,000 difference. That's the difference in the two deals to make it work. So it could, but let's see. No, I'm not. No, if I'm Indy, no. That's giving Butler way too much credit. And Indy has their own problems, but I no. Like Toppin and Matherin and Walker, like that's your athleticism right there. Turner is a big, like Butler. No, send him to the Nets. Simmons. Look, I guess there's a chance Ben Simmons gets moved at some point. Talk about a career that people missed on so much. I never liked Ben Simmons. I hated his game at LSU. People just assumed he was going to be like some great NBA talent and was just going to figure out shooting. Like, come on. Like, there's a difference between, like, Jason Kidd wasn't a great shooter, but he had, like, work ethic. Ben Simmons showed at LSU he was not that much of a hard worker. I don't know why people thought he was going to figure out this NBA. Like, the way he's playing right now, does it surprise me? No. Well, no, I can't say that. The fact that he can't, like, take layups and all that kind of stuff, that does surprise me. But when Ben Simmons was coming out of LSU, I figured he wasn't going to be some superstar. He wasn't going to be all that great of a player. I thought he'd be kind of like a glue guy that, because of his size, he could give you some assists, he could give you some rebounds, but he wasn't going to be some difference maker. And you drafted that at number 1, which is kind of wild. But that's the NBA. Butler for LeBron, send him back to Miami. I mean, LA doesn't want that. LeBron doesn't want that either. Decision 2025. Random 49ers DC getting let go. I mean, sure. Like, look, some of these teams are making some head scratching decisions. That's probably another one. Mm. To think that their season is going to boil down to the DC getting let go, like, huh? Why? What about the Clippers? What would you have to trade for the Clippers? Clippers are getting Kawhi Leonard back. Yay. We'll see how long he sticks around. Antonio Pierce being, yeah, we talked about the coaching moves. Yeah, don't like it. Teams need to start looking in the looking in the mirror and being realistic. Okay, so Butler. I mean, you could technically do Butler for Kawhi Leonard straight up. Here, Miami. Does that? Well, probably should say if you're the Clippers, would you give up the next 3 years on Kawhi Leonard's contract for the next, I guess, 2 years? I guess technically Butler has 2 years on his deal. I would rather have Kawhi Leonard. Because I think the Clippers have kind of held Kawhi Leonard out for a little bit longer than probably he could have. He probably could have played a little earlier, but I think they're hoping that he'll be able to play for like a set number of months, and they'd rather that set number be like in season to the playoffs instead of early season to the end of the regular season and then the playoffs he's just hurt. Seems like that's their hope. It would be an even swap, yeah. But if I'm the Clippers, I'd rather have Kawhi Leonard than Jimmy Butler. Because now you're going to tell me, like Butler, James Harden, Norman Powell, PJ Tucker, Zubac, Terrence Mann, Nick Batum, guys like that. Like, I think that team would be worse. And the Clippers are, by all prior projections, playing a little above their head right now. And I think it's also the hope, that they've been this good so far. You're bringing Kawhi. Kawhi can give you this stretch run from here to June. I think that they think they're contenders. I don't, but I think they think that. I think if you move Kawhi for Butler, you're probably a play-in team. Because one thing you'd have to think about with Butler is, well, I'm about to say the West and the East, there are some kind of like slight differences in kind of style of play, but I don't know. I'm just not a Butler guy, so I don't know if there's anybody you could put him anywhere, and I would be like, yay, that makes me worried. I don't. So I'd rather keep Kawhi Leonard in his questionable availability because Butler's kind of the same way, and there are games where Butler's going to play where he might as well sit out for the night because he kind of just doesn't do anything until like 6 minutes in the fourth, and then he tries to show a pulse. Not a fan. That's just me. I think kind of ended there. Like I said, went solo tonight. I was actually planning on only doing like an hour. Went an hour and like 40 minutes. I think that's good. Appreciate you all. Hopefully you enjoyed it. So you say you'd rather have Cam Reddish over Butler. I mean, no. But I'm just saying, like, LA would have to give up young pieces to bring Butler in. I think that'd be counterproductive. So I guess technically yes, but not Cam Reddish. It'd be Cam Reddish and the others that have to give up. I wouldn't be a fan of that, so I would say no to that trade. But yes. So look, we'll see if by next Tuesday Butler has a new home, or I guess he's still suspended by Miami. We'll see. But well, obviously we'll have wild card games to reflect on and get ready for the divisional round. If any other news, I guess, breaks in the NBA as well, we will definitely have that for you next week. So like I said, hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit the like button. Really appreciate it. Make sure you follow or subscribe to Integrity Sports Network. That way you will be notified next time one of our shows goes live. You can, check out my channel, Chomp at the Bit, if you want to see some of my content. Would appreciate that. Good show tonight. Catch you next time. Appreciate that, John. I know that you're one of the regulars. Definitely appreciate you. So yeah, John, Trajan, Anthony, Jory, anybody else who might catch this after the fact. Definitely appreciate all of you. We try to put on a good show for you every Tuesday. So make sure you come back next Tuesday. I did come on a little later tonight. We normally come on 7 o'clock on Tuesday, so make sure you're back next Tuesday at 7 for another edition of On the Ball. But enjoy the rest of your night. I'm probably going to get out of here and go watch Celtics Nuggets. But see you next week. Oh, and the next time you'll see me, I guess, on the network. So it's Tuesday. I will be, I guess, on here Thursday, Silent Sideline. Friday, Passion and Precision. Just, yeah. I pop up every so often. So, yeah. So be safe. Catch you next week. I'm out of here.